Welcome into Perfect Game Retirement. Glad to talk to you again. As you probably have picked up on the show, we talk a lot of sports, right? But Ryan, a former professional baseball player, obviously that's important to him. He's got a couple of kids that are very active in sports. So we're talking about that a lot, whether you're watching us here or listening on the radio show as well. But Ryan, today we're going to talk about tennis. We're going to take tennis and apply that to financial planning as well. I'm not a huge tennis guy. I enjoy it. I appreciate those that are playing at the top levels. But it was always, for me, the hardest sport to try to pick up and be good at. I just never could figure out the serves, but also the volleys, hitting it with pace, but also getting it over the net and keeping it in play. So difficult.
Yeah, growing up, I don't think I ever tried it. I may have I think we had a neighborhood tennis court that I would, do some stuff there. I'm thinking, I'm an athlete. This will be easy. It's not as easy as it looks. Now I can run side to side, or I used to be able to run side to side all day long. But I even tried I was like, you know what? I'm going to try my daughter out and see if she likes this. So I took her to some day camp in the winter of all times in our county that we live in. And it was blistering cold. And the wind was howling. I mean, it was awful. And so I completely ruined that. If there was any chance of my daughter playing tennis, she's like, yeah, I never want to do that again. I'm like, well, good, because I don't really want to either. But I think the weather played a part in that. But yeah, it was bad timing on my part. But again, I do appreciate it. I remember growing up watching, especially Wimbledon during the summer. That was always, and I had HBO growing up because that was always where it was on. So, watching those guys like Sampras and Agassi, I mean, it is fun to watch. As a former athlete, you do appreciate other sports. Some I like, some I don't like. I'm not a big soccer guy. I can appreciate the athleticism and the ability of these guys, but I just don't enjoy watching it. Tennis is kind of the same thing. Now, again, majors, Olympics, I enjoy watching it, but yeah, I'm not going to really keep up with who's who, but there's some good analogies here with the lessons with tennis and financial planning. So I thought it was a good topic.
Yeah, there are. And there's actually more than you probably would expect as we tie this into financial planning. So let's start with the first lesson, Ryan, that the court is different for singles versus doubles when you watch it, right? It's a little bit wider with doubles. Same rules for the most part, just more space to work with. Very similar with planning for couples versus planning as a single person, right? There's just a little bit more space to work with as a couple.
Yeah, there is. And we can go in a bunch of different directions here. But yeah, I mean, the court, yes, it's wider for doubles. Obviously, the out of bounds going back is going to be the same. So there's some similarities that single people have to deal with versus a married couple. And I saw this, again, I bring up my father a lot, but I saw this firsthand a lot where you go from a two-income family, and then my mom passed away before she could even claim Social Security. But so you go from a two-income family. She worked some part-time, wasn't a full-time. She was mainly a full-time mom. But you go from a married filing jointly person or a family to a single filer, and a lot of times you move up a tax bracket, even though your income may be a little bit less. You just move through the brackets quicker. There's, only one Social Security benefit, not two. It's different. So not only do you lose a spouse and you potentially lose some income, but you're paying potentially higher taxes. And that just makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't seem like, but that's the truth. I've seen it in reality. So again, there's some similarities and differences, but married couples do have flexibility, Social Security claiming strategies, different taxes as far as how you move, what more wiggle room you have in each tax bracket. So, yeah, it is what it is, but married couples or doubles usually have a little bit more flexibility. Just like the court is wider, you have more flexibility for your shots. Same thing for a married couple. There's some more flexibility than, just yourself.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Second lesson here. There are certain players that perform better on certain surfaces. You probably see this, even if you're not someone that's really tapped in, you'll probably always see that, hey, you're going to see Federer and Sampras always perform well at Wimbledon. Nadal, so great on the clay. And there's just so many players that just really performed well on specific surfaces. So I know advisors are kind of similar, right, Ryan? I mean, there are specializations. Most people think, hey, every advisor is kind of similar, do the same things, but there are certain specializations that you'll find working with different people.
Yeah, and I've never understood that the different court surfaces. Again, I don't watch enough or know enough that I'm like, why does Nadal like completely dominate clay? And I'm sure it's about the side to side or how the ball's hit. Again, I don't know much about tennis, so sorry if someone who's watching who knows tennis, like you're an idiot, Ryan. But I don't know. But yeah, I always puzzle, like scratch my head at that. But yes, there are advisors who work with specific demographics of people, certain companies, certain age groups. I mean, it's across the board. So that's why you should vet several advisors if you do talk with some. So we don't have a industry like specific group that we work with. We have a ton of pension employees, whether it's private sector or public sector. But our main wheelhouse is going to be that usually single person or married couple in their 50s, and they're trying to figure out that runway of what that looks like. So our average client age is 52, which is kind of younger. If you kind of look at most advisory firms, who are they working with? It's mostly those retirees, but we've seen that the kind of earlier you do the planning, but there's the people of staying at one company forever just doesn't happen as much. So there's a lot of old accounts that need consolidating. But when you get to your 50s, it's kind of that mark where you're like, I really need to get this in gear. So my next 10 years or my next 15 years is a whole lot easier than doing this at 60 and then trying to figure it out at the last minute. But yeah, certain advisors, they work with certain groups, but again, our ages, so our average client age is around 52, which means we work with people that are a whole lot older. And then we have some that are a whole lot younger, but our main demographic is going to be those individuals that are in their 40s and 50s, and then a big chunk in their 60s as well. So we like to take them kind of what it looks like up to retirement, and then obviously creating that financial plan, then helping them through retirement. That way they can focus on the things that they want to do in retirement.
All right. Third lesson that we can take from tennis and apply to financial planning: holding serve matters. I mean, if you follow tennis, if you understand the way it works, when you're serving, you're in control, right? And that's the ones that you should win, those points you should win. So Ryan, take this and apply it to financial planning. How do you hold serve, so to speak, with your finances?
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things, like control what you can control. So, you control your savings rate. Like, you know exactly what your savings, but once you save, like, you really can't control what the market does. You can't control really tax rates. You can't control inflation. So focus on paying debts off, saving. Those are the things that you can control, then it's out of your hands. So while we're doing sports analogies here, I'm going to take it in a little bit of a different direction, but that's what I coach my daughter's travel softball team on. All you can control is your approach and the swing that you put on the ball. After that, there's 9 defenders out there trying to get you out. So you hit the ball hard, that is all you can do. Sometimes it works out for you. Most of the time, it's not going to work out for you. I don't care what kind of a hitter you are. Most of the time, it's not going to work out for you. So control what you can control. Same thing when it comes to kind of holding serve here. You can control that. If you hold serve, you're really in control of the match. That I do know enough that if you lose serve and then they come back and then you're kind of behind the 8 ball then. So again, you can't get frantic and worry about the things that you can't control, the news headlines. Again, inflation, taxes, markets. Control what you can control, pay debts off, save money. That's the best you can do.
All right. So we're on to lesson number 4 here. Kind of similarly, right? Controlling what you can control. Those unforced errors, they end up losing more matches than the winners actually win. And these are the things that you do that the opponent doesn't force you to do, right? This is mistakes that you make on your own. And so, right, I can understand there are a lot of unforced errors we probably make with our money. You probably see these all the time.
Oh yeah, especially when markets are bad. Panic selling is that can chop one of your legs out from underneath you big time when it comes to financial planning. Because if you're selling out when the market takes a dip, then you're kind of waiting on the sidelines until things are quote unquote better. Well, you probably miss most of the recovery when that happens. So yeah, panic selling, which fortunately we don't have a whole lot of clients who want to do that. They understand it's a long game in the end game, but you also really need to stress test that portfolio to make sure that if there is a pullback, that you're okay to lose whatever percent, and you're willing to stay in the market and kind of weather the storm, if you will. So, chasing a hot stock or whatever, you've seen it go up. I've seen a few stocks this year go up triple digits, sometimes even four this year. It's like, wow. And then people kind of jump on that bandwagon. So, unforced errors, they can really, really hurt and affect you. But that's where the behavior part, the coaching part of my job really comes into play, because bad behavior can really derail your plan.
All right, one last one here. Our fifth lesson we can take from tennis apply to financial planning. Hey, it's a best of five, not a best of one, especially those Grand Slams. I mean, they can go a long time, right? So even if you drop a point, drop a set, it's not the end of the world, right? There's plenty more. I mean, I think about John Isner. I don't know if you remember that match, Ryan, the former Georgia tennis player.
I do.
11 hours they went at Wimbledon. Incredible. But to the point here, applying it to what you do, Ryan, right? I mean, hey, you might have a bad month, bad year, but that's not going to completely make or break your retirement plan.
Yeah, when you mentioned that, I was like, oh, who was that guy? And you're right, it was Isner. Wasn't he like 6'10" or something like that? He was enormous.
Yeah. He was.
But yeah, talking about somebody who can serve. I mean, that guy was really good. But yeah, I do remember that match. That's crazy you bring that up. But yes, this is a long-term game, and if people aren't willing to stay in it in the long term, they're probably not a good fit for us. Bad quarters, bad years. Bad days, they are going to happen, and you have to weather that storm. Again, the really, and we've had some volatile stuff lately. The market kind of can't figure out the direction it wants to go in, especially in 2026 right now as we're recording this. But look at the last year where it really took a hit was 2022. That was painful because pretty much everything was down. And kudos to the people that we work with. There wasn't people panicking or freaking out. Again, we know this is a long-term thing. And then look what has happened in, the years following that. They've been, from a market perspective, they've been pretty good. But if you jumped out and then waited for it to be okay or safe to come back in, you've missed most of that run up. So it's a long game, but like you said, best of five or best of three, if you're talking about women's, that those things could last a long, long time. And you have to remember the same thing with retirement. Just because you retire at 65 doesn't mean that's it. You may have another 30 years on this planet that we got to work through.
Yeah. So some good lessons, again, to take from tennis. You don't have to be a tennis player to understand this, right? I mean, every tennis player has a game plan, but you have that discipline to adjust mid-match. That's what oftentimes separates the good ones from the great ones, right? Be able to adjust without losing your nerve. Also kind of goes for financial planning, right? Good financial planning has that ability to adjust and evolve as life changes as well. If you don't have a plan in place, need help with that, Black Oak Asset Management can help you. Again, if you want to get in touch, go to speakwithryan.com, get on his calendar, take advantage of that complimentary consultation with him, and begin that planning process. At least be discussing what's on your mind, what your goals are, and how you can best get there. But hopefully enjoy it. Enjoy maybe a match of tennis if you're a tennis player. Probably not for me and Ryan particularly, but we do enjoy the sport nonetheless. And hopefully this was a fun way to look at financial planning. We'll talk to you again right here on Perfect Game Retirement. Take care.